It is now time for the university to recognize the outstanding achievements of exceptional individuals through the awarding of honorary doctorate degrees. I would like to present Board Chair Lenita Layton to introduce Siamak Hariri.
Thank you. Today, on behalf of Chancellor Jamie Watt, who was unable to be with us this morning, I'm honored to introduce Siamak Hariri, our honorary doctorate recipient. It gave me back my life, took better care of me than my own parents. I watched an entire community, literally all of my friends, die. I was convinced I was next. But there are no words to describe this place. The courage it inspired, the love it contained. Casey House is an oasis where we can feel safe. These are the words of testimony, of sickness, of pain, joy, hope, renewal. The strength of the human spirit, the unbearable weight that can press upon it. Some of these words are from the living, others are from the dead. When it seemed like the whole world had shut gay men out, when these men were most ostracized, unsafe, and closed off, there was a place whose doors were open that gave men who had just lost their spouse of 20 years to AIDS and who are now suffering from that same cruel disease a literal and metaphorical embrace. That place was Casey House. Chancellor Watt served as a director there for many years, and in 2016, he was the chair of a capital campaign to preserve and protect that house, to rebuild this sanctuary on Isabella Street. But rebuild does not capture the challenge of this project, which in the words of Chancellor Watt, was an Everest of architectural ambition. Because this task was to transform Casey House from a hospice where tragically HIV/AIDS patients died, to a hospital, a place where they could recover and live, to cross that fundamental divide, the line between life and death. That was the trial. Graduates, distinguished guests, there was only one person to call, and he is seated on the stage before you now. He did the impossible. Because of that, he did more than just build a structure. He forged a living testimony. Siamak is a world-renowned architect who's been working in Toronto for over 30 years, and the breadth of his oeuvre is remarkable. For example, the Jackman Law Building, the Baha'i Temple of South America, the Tom Patterson Theater. These are structures that give color and consonance to our cities, that speak to who we are, that testify. And though they will invariably continue to come to Siamak in armfuls, there are no further accolades to bestow, no more awards that can change or modify this truth, that in Siamak's hands, light, form, sight, material, craft, all matter, all serve to achieve the sacred, to testify. Siamak Hariri's mission draws deep, and it is beautiful. The structures Siamak creates across this country and in this world are like the words of testimony. They belong to everyone, all Canadians, to all of humanity. And now, from this day forth, Siamak belongs to us, to this community, this band of artists, designers, thinkers who desire to shape and beautify this world. President and Vice Chancellor Anna Serrano, graduates, and distinguished guests, may I present OCAD University's latest Doctor of Design, Siamak Hariri.
On behalf of the Senate of OCAD University, I confer upon you, Siamak Hariri, the degree of Doctor of Design, honoris causa, with all the rights and privileges thereunto appertaining. Thank you.
Wow, beautiful. You guys, I'm just looking around the room, enjoying the view from here. Thank you so much, Lanita Layton, for delivering those very kind words from my dear friend Jamie Watt, OCAD University's Chancellor. I wish he could be here with us on stage today so that I could thank him in person. Madam President, Vice Chancellor, Provost, Deans, and class of 2024, you made it. I have to say, I'm deeply, deeply privileged to say a few words on this important occasion. This is one of those occasions where you move on, and an occasion which Chancellor Watt said so beautifully connects me further with the OCAD family. Thank you. And what a family it is. I'm before you also, I have to say, feeling very lucky, very fortunate to my own family. My artist wife, Sasha, who's been my anchor and my go-to for 38 years. My children, Yasmin, David, and Lua. My partner in design and architecture, David Ponterini, for 30 years. My first piece of important advice: choose your partners well. Now, I really appreciate the fact that you've asked me to say a few words to try and distill my entire life in a few minutes. Imagine that. So I'd like to offer 3 simple suggestions, 3 of the most important things I've learned to share with you as you move on from this wonderful moment of change in your life. Very important moment. First of all, and Jamie alluded to it, take delight in beauty. Second, embrace perfection and refinement. And third, let it all be about service. A moment that was very important for me came at a time very similar to this period in your life. And I still, to this day, I don't know why it registered with me, so think about that too. Something happened to me. It was like a gift. And now I get this chance to sort of convey that to you. Amazing how these things happen in one's life, and how really lucky I was. While I was in school, in architecture school, like you, I used to go across the street to a wonderful building, the University Art Gallery, designed by the architect Louis Kahn. And there, one day, as I was standing in the hall, I saw the security guard run his hand across the concrete. But what touched me was that the security guard, you could see it in his face, you could see it in his emotions. He was moved by the building. And he didn't have a degree in architecture, but I loved how he had this emotional connection with architecture. A lift, something fundamental, I think, in all of our natures. Something that defined what you might call, at that moment, an aspiration for me. How does architecture do that? How does architecture move people? How does architecture create an emotional connection? So I have spent a lifetime, really, trying to understand and excavate this one experience. How do material things have a spiritual effect. And how is this so universal? It affects everyone, and you see it. It's something common to us all. And I think my best answer is that this is the effect of beauty. Beauty hints that we are spiritual beings living in a material existence, in a liminal space, which means a space in between the physical and the non-physical. Otherwise, how do you explain it? How does a physical work have a non-physical effect, an emotional effect? So, my first suggestion, I urge you to be in love with beauty, passionately. Embrace it, because it can bring an awareness of the soul to you. Like a huge invitation, a lifetime invitation. And if you embrace it, your work, like the story of the security guard, can somehow touch the soul. And your work becomes your connection to, let's call it, the divine. Now, don't get me wrong, I am speaking of capital B beauty here. This is not about glamour or the pretty or simply pleasing or a nice loveliness, as the poet John Donahue used to say. I'm talking about beauty with a very, very high reach, like something that touches the soul, that hints at a much larger fullness of the human experience, where the physical, as I said, and the non-physical intertwine. A beauty that hints that there's a whole other game going on. Remember that invitation? A beauty that demands from you a humility and a curiosity. If you're arrogant, you shut down. And if you shut down, you're not curious. So by being humble, you can excavate the depth and the wonder of the creative process. Your work, your calling, I love this idea that beauty can call you. It's so big that maybe, just maybe, that's why we're actually here. And this class of 2024 will carry you. After all, you are engaged in a process of mingling the invisible with the visible, the material with the ineffable. The heart of what I want to say, what I love, what I'm searching all my life for, constantly amazed by, is that our thoughts are our reality. And our thoughts are inspired, or maybe not inspired. Seeing when others do not see, or seeing what everybody else sees. You see the difference? The power of imagination. To imagine is to be in the realm of the immeasurable. Where does that come from? And that imagination becomes, or shall we say, manifests itself in form. That an idea that is in the realm of the non-physical can be brought down to the physical. So where should we direct our thoughts? That's the question. Our imagination. You become what you behold. So I say, behold beauty. Make it your intention to behold beauty, to honor it in your work like it is divine, and keep the beautiful, no matter how small, close to your heart, very close. And maybe this is mostly an inner thing, that it comes from within, from where you, as Chancellor Watt said, really are, inside, often in stillness, that you become awake to it, listen to its whispering. I'm quite convinced that this is the most important thing in your life. And somehow your work emerges, is shaped. What I dreamt of doing, I tried to do, and I actually did. And if the aspiration is beauty, it will naturally be to create not just a building, but a work with atmosphere, a work that touches the spirit. So class of 2024, ask yourself, when do you actually feel that lift? When do you actually feel a piece of music take you, or a painting, a space that moves you, brings tears to your eyes, makes your knees weak? How does that happen? Why does it happen? You see, this question of beauty teaches us that somehow the material can have a spiritual effect. The measurable can be immeasurable, that coarseness and ugliness can be overcome. That space can accompany us in our relationship with the poetic. That craft and craftsmanship are much more than materials simply coming together. That there is a connection to the heart, and beauty is right there along with justice and truth. So my second suggestion is that you strive for perfection. Make that your way of being in the world. Do not listen to the advice that perfect is the enemy of the good. Do not pay attention to those who decry perfection. Look at those who you admire. Did they not strive for perfection? Were they not obsessed with refinement? It's hard work, and it's about perseverance and not giving up. Refinement can be mundane, we know that. Repetitive, even boring at times. It can mean having to do things over and over again, but it's worth the effort. One of the things I've come to really love from my heart is this universal idea, this powerful idea, that everything in the universe, in nature, and nature is a great educator, is constantly striving for higher and higher degrees of perfection. That this is the primal will, if you like. That in the Baha'i writings, I'm trying to be a Baha'i, no other command is as rigorously enjoined as the duty of refinement. And it is forbidden that one bring any object, can you imagine, into being in a state of imperfection, when one hath the power to manifest it in full perfection. This is direct from the Baha'i writings, and that should one build an edifice and fail to elevate it to the utmost perfection possible for it, there would be no moment in the life of that edifice when the universe would not lament its state of imperfection. Imagine that. So this belief is something that has moved me all my life, that work done in this spirit is like a prayer, like going to the temple. So I urge you, make your works perfect, like prayers, works that speak to your yearning for the perfect, your aspiration, and it will never fail you. Take everything you have to give the craft, the vibration of elements, the detail, for God is in the detail. Light, proportion, what a mystery proportion is. Landscape, atmosphere, concept, all the other things, and strive for refinement and perfection. And now, my third suggestion may surprise you. I have this idea, very important idea, that you find your way to service, that your work somehow improves, nay, lifts the life of others, that your work is not for yourself. It belongs to an idea of community, maybe a world community. So be concerned, deeply concerned with the condition of the world. Yes, the work is uniquely yours, but you do it for others. Define success as something much higher than the good life or the material life. Try to do a good work, a decent work, in service for others. You will see that service is not easy. It is so much simpler just to bathe in the self, to be absorbed in the self, but it's really a trap. So invent your own life's meaning. I think you'll be so much happier for it. Not to just follow the others. Look for what you notice and no one else does. Take notice. Be open. Be independent of thought. Don't wear other people's coats just to fit in, especially your parents. Be the unusual. Be the crazy. Surprise yourself. Sometimes when they say you're the crazy, it's not so bad. But at the end, do it for service to others. This keeps you sane, keeps you humble, and maybe this way you define your work and your success as care. That you care, that you tried to be of service, but a little original too. That you didn't play it safe. You aimed high. Aim for the perfect. Perfect, good works. Works that people will feel somehow has made their lives better. All of it for capital B beauty. And that all of it is a gift of the imagination. You will see this will not let you down. So now here's the magic that in my mind is really, really important. Attraction. It's strange how it works. The right things somehow then come to you. The best, the most amazing people to work with and most amazing people to work for. If you don't know what you are, what you like, where you stand, what you don't like, what you believe, what you're willing to sacrifice for. Why should others come to you? Why should others trust in you? You see what I mean? So attraction. People can feel it. You're putting yourselves out there, taking a chance. It's a quality that can make people want to be with you. So, dear graduating class of 2024, this is what I wish for you. Search hard. Now that you have this little piece of paper, strive. Search with all you have, with zeal and great effort. First of all, for beauty, and then for perfection, and most importantly, for service. Forget about what others think. Really search for yourself, your true self, your voice, and go down that path with reliance and high endeavor. This will not fail you. Thank you.
Everyone, please join me in congratulating Siamak Hariri.